please welcome first-time Turbine Montage performer, Ashton, Cynthia, Clarke!
Well, thank you, Pam, and thank you, Rob, for having me on the first time. Helen, that was such a lovely tribute to your dad. Bless you for that. Um, well, my story, May 2019, and it's at the Fabulous Forum Concert Hall in Los Angeles. Now, I had dropped big bucks for the best seat that I could get. I mean, it was just a little bit off center, but in the very first row. And I was waiting for the a cappella singing group Pentatonix. Now, I've been following these kids on YouTube for about a year, and I really love them. They're a quintet, including the only girl in the group, and she's got a smooth soprano with a really wide range. Although the mother in me wants to get her to add a few inches to those short skirts she'd be wearing. But then there's also the kid with the really strong falsetto. And I swear he takes me back to Eddie Kendricks from Temptations days. And yes, and the brother who uses his hands, his voice, his feet to do that beatbox thing and substitute for any other kind of percussion instrument they would have were they not a cappella group. Now, this was my first time going to a concert by myself. So I wanted to, well, I needed to feel special. And I'm no big shot. I mean, in fact, I had been having some abysmal sales for the year on my job, and I wasn't exactly rolling in dough. But I figured I was going to go to this concert and I needed to be comfortable. I mean, I am too grown a woman to be hiking up a bunch of stairs for a seat all the way in the back in these heels. So I splurged and I got the best seat that I could get. And the money was well spent. After all, I was sitting in the very first row with my plastic cup of wine. So anyway, I started looking around to see who else is sharing this front row with me. And on one side, there was this Partridge Family looking group. And I knew that seating this family of 6 must have cost a pretty penny. So I wondered if they were performers or wannabe performers. And then on my other side, there was this really well-dressed gentleman, Hollywood producer looking type. And he was cuddled up with a gorgeous, much younger looking woman. So yeah, I was in fancy company. Now, after a while, I noticed there was a bunch of mostly young people standing in this gated area. And it was in front of, but sort of lower down, lower than the regular seating where I was sitting. And it was like an orchestra pit. I was going to investigate further, but just then the lights dimmed and we all started cheering in anticipation of Pentatonix. But then it seemed that that little bunch in the pit, they seemed to have multiplied, and those kids surged forwards toward the stage, blocking my entire view. Pentatonix blasted onto the stage, but I couldn't see anything but the tops of their heads. So I sat there, pissed. And the whole mess was really starting to get to me. I mean, I was there by myself. I had spent all that money, wasted that money on that front row seat, and I was totally disheartened. I mean, it was like, who did I think I was anyway? And after about 5 minutes of sitting there, not seeing a thing, I noticed, I was right next door to the center aisle. And there was just this short little metal gate separating the front of the aisle from the stage itself. So I thought, if I leave my seat and go stand in that aisle behind that gate, I'll have a totally clear view. But I can't leave my seat. I mean, it is so comfortable. And what if somebody steals my seat? Am I going to stand up for the entire concert in these heels? Shoot, I'm moving. I grabbed my pashmina from the back of that chair, put that plastic tasting wine on the floor, and rushed out into the aisle. that artificial smoke stuff was just starting to rise, and the lights were flashing, and the crowd was going wild for Pentatonix. And I'm yelling and jumping up and down, and I could see everything. Now, I wasn't the only one who had the idea of standing in the aisle. There was this very cool young brother standing next to me, and he looked over and asked, "So, are you having fun?" "Yeah," I yelled back, trying to be heard above the crowd. And then he said, "I'm Jimmy, and I'm a musician. Well, are you a talent agent or something?" I just laughed. "No, I'm a storyteller, wanting to be a comedian." And then he said, "Wow, I knew you had to be somebody." And I am somebody, but not because of that abandoned front row seat, but just because I'm me. Now, the next day, I'm hobbling around because my back and feet were still killing me from jumping up and down all night in those heels. But that was all worth it. I'm Ashton Cynthia Clarke, and that was my story.